build your confidence as an adult. So you notice that most of the times when you're getting older, there are things that you thought you'd be able to do. Maybe you should have bought a house, you should have bought a car, you should have had a job that's giving you money that's enough to pay your rent, but you don't have it. And at times, this builds low confidence in you. The next thing that you then do is it brings about depression, it brings about anxiety, panic attacks. And at times, you then start wondering, okay, what am I doing wrong? So how then do you build your confidence as an adult, as a young adult, just basically anyone? How do you then build your confidence? So the first thing that I notice is, as an adult, we are aware of what our peers are doing. So-and-so has this, so-and-so is doing so well, so-and-so is doing that, and we tend to compare ourselves with these people. And that's where we get the midlife crisis that we usually hear about in the roads, anywhere, at work, school, church, anywhere. This person is going through a midlife crisis. So this actually then helps us to say, how then can you deal with it? So the first thing that you need to do is realize that it affects your performance in life. The moment you start thinking, this person is doing this person is doing something else, that's when your confidence is affected. So the next thing that you also need to notice is that we're not able to achieve our goals, and we then develop negative behaviors because of this. You've noticed so many times, like we're talking about auto-suggestion, the moment you're like, I can't do this, but so-and-so is doing this, that's the problem. That's where the problem starts. And that's what we need to be able to fix. That's when we start seeing the moral decay. We have unsolicited behaviors like drinking. We have hopelessness. You start saying, I can't do this. It's too hard. And the result is less participation. The moment you're not participating in an activity or in something that you're supposed to be doing, it then reduces the amount of confidence that you have. Then the more the confidence is reduced, the harder it is for you to build your self-confidence, as we were talking about just now. So the best way to improve is to start slow and steady. Small, steady, and sure steps will get you to build your confidence. We used to say baby steps will get you there. So the baby steps we're talking about is knowing, number one, you need to be able to complete these small tasks. The moment you complete these small tasks, they build independence. You know that, okay, fine. If it's in accounting per se, you know that you can reach a certain level, maybe in your trial balance. You know that my problem is starting from here. So this has built confidence from your starting point to know that I can start this, and then this is where I'm ending. Then the more confidence that you build, you also build your rapport with other people. You also build your self-esteem as well. So this also helps you to improve awareness of the things that you're good at. So the moment you notice, the next thing that you need to do is to notice and be aware that I am good at this. The moment you know that you're good at something, that's the moment that your self-confidence also goes up. Remember that focusing on what you can't do will only negatively attract or negatively influence you in what you already can do. So then, after this, the next thing that I want to talk about is how we can also help our children to achieve their full potential. Okay, so the next thing that we need to be talking about is our kids. We need to be able to help our kids to be able to reach their full potential. And the verse that comes to mind every time I think about our kids is 2 Corinthians 3, verse 4-5, and it reads, "We are confident of all this because of our great trust in God through Christ. It is not that we think we can do anything of lasting value by ourselves. Our only power and success come from God." So I need us to be able to remember this as we are going through this little discussion about how we can be able to help our kids. So the first thing that we need to be able to do is to be able to build their confidence and their self-esteem. We need to be able to improve their performance in life or daily living activities that they do. And we need to be able to encourage them to be their best or achieve their best, and also be able to make learning fun for the kids. So the first thing that you need to understand is they're what I like to call the five, let me just say PQRS, the letter S, the 5 S's, right? So it's silly, surprise, science, sensory, and specific. These are the 5 S's that we need to be able to use. So the first one is silly. Do you know how easy it is for you to teach a child when they're unguarded and they don't feel that there's that emotional baggage that comes with an activity? So the first thing that you need to be able to do, or that silliness does to an activity, is that it removes the emotional baggage from the kids. You know how kids are like, I want to be able to do this because it will make mommy proud. Remove that. That is emotional baggage for the kid. So you need to remove the scariness from the activity, and this also reduces the mistakes that a kid does. How does it reduce the mistakes that your child does? The moment the activity is fun and silly, there's that aspect of them saying, nah, if I make a mistake, it's okay, I can just do it again. And it brings back that aspect of them knowing that they can be able to do it again. That's the first point. Be silly. The second thing that you need to be able to do is surprise. You know how fun it is when you have an activity that you're doing and someone just takes an everyday item and changes how they do it. You know, like the current game that we have, the bottle flip, and you'll be able to eat food. That's a surprise for most kids. Just find a way of taking something that is usually used in a specific way and make it slightly unusual in a way that guides the child to understand the activity that you want them to understand. And this gives like a little pizzazz or spark of curiosity in what the children are doing. And then the third thing is sign. But with signs, there are different types of signs that are there. It's like storytelling. The first sign that you can have is, for example, you can have puppets that you can use to help your children to be able to understand or to be able to relate. This also depends with the age group of the child. Remember that the signs that you use, everything that you do, then depends on the age of the child that you have. You can also use song, like a nursery rhyme or specific songs that you can have. Remember, at church we have Father Abraham had many sons. So this also then helps them to understand when you're explaining to them that Father Abraham had the many sons, but how does he have many sons when he just had one? How is it that God then made him to have the many sons that we talk about? And we can also create a story around an activity that you're doing with your child. So if you're doing an activity, maybe it's the story time, you make it in such a way that your kid, let's say you're saying that the gorilla was eating, or then the little boy started eating, or the giant started eating and started waiting chomp, chomp, chomp while eating. So those sounds, or maybe he was walking furiously and it goes thud, thud, thud. So that makes it easier for the child to understand. So the third thing that you also need to use, or you can also term it as sound that you use, right? So one thing that is, while laying information about an activity, it then comes to life. Make sure that your activity that you do comes to life. And the fourth thing that you need to be able to use for your kids to be able to achieve or build their self-confidence is sensory. Remember, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, smell, taste. There are other senses that you can also have. Remember, the use of temperature, weight, or texture. Let's take, for example, you want to do a drawing activity using chalk. You can choose to say, we're going, instead of writing on paper, like bond paper, you then say maybe you want to write on sandpaper. So the texture that is there makes it fun, because it's not the smooth texture that they're used to. It's that rough texture that they now have, and it builds their what? their interests. And the fifth thing that you need to be able to do is to be specific to the child that you're dealing with. You need to be able to look at the interest or know the interest of your child that you're dealing with. So if you know that your child has a favorite toy at home, you incorporate that toy into an activity, because there's already that emotional attachment to that toy or to that object that you're now incorporating into what? Into your activity. And you're making them feel known, heard, seen, and they love the fact that you have used what they already see, what they already love in their activities. So this then helps you to build the self-confidence. Remember, self-confidence is built through optimism, making sure that you surround yourself with positive people, and the principle of auto-suggestion, where we said auto-suggestion is you constantly thinking about something. You're persistently thinking about your goal, persistently thinking about where you want to go. So remember, right now, your persistent goal is that you want to build your self-confidence. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is The Compassionate Couch. I'm Majda. Bye.